Excellent. Okay, and again, throughout the class, just feel welcome to keep yourself comfortable, and we're going to get our vibration really high today, so make sure you drink lots of water. When you go home today, keep, stay hydrated. So a lot of the good part of being in aligned with your soul path and your soul contract and your knowing where your soul bits and pieces are is it helps release a great deal of anxiety, and it really helps you to understand what's happening in your life and why, and the things that happen in your life that you're like, oh, God, do I really want to put energy into this? You can tap in and go yes or no. It makes it easier to walk away from drama, a lot easier. Hello, that's okay. Come on in. We're just getting started, so this is perfect. Yes, but I think so. There's like sometimes people come into your life because they're contracted by a soul contract. Sometimes they come into your life because they just come into your life. Like imagine when we are in our between lives state of being. So you are your higher self. Like I'll use myself as an example. So I'm uber bonita. I'm like the big, bold, awesome bonita. That's a whole collective of all the me's I have ever been. And when I teach like past life classes, I always say, imagine like a beautiful, multifaceted crystal. The crystal is you, but each facet is one of your lives. So you live your life, and then you return to the original, but you still have the memories and the persona of your life. We can connect with our past lives. We can connect with our future lives, or hi, come on in. Yes. We just got started, so this is perfect. So you can connect with your past, parallel, and future lives as your collective of your higher state of being, or as individuals. I often have parties where I invite any of my past lives who's passionate about a particular subject, just as we're here today, to come and converse and share our anecdotes with each other. So these are fun things that we can do. And so imagine that I am in my higher self state. So I'm complete within myself, all the past lives. I'm aware of the present and future lives, because when we're not in this 3D reality, time is not really linear. It's more multifaceted as well. And I say, okay, I need to go back to life. It's time for me to go back to life. I may decide that because I feel an intuitive pull that it's time to go back. I may decide that because there's a lesson that I wish to learn, so I wish to go back into life and learn a lesson. Or I may have a challenge I've been trying to overcome, a lesson I've been trying to learn and I've been failing miserably, so I need to find a way to make that happen. Or someone might ask me to go into life to help them with whatever it is they want. In this life where I'm alive right now, I'm not here for me. I'm here because my son asked me to be here for him, to support him with the work that he needs to do to help with all the crystals and indigos in the next stage of human evolution. He's not the only one. There's a lot of young people right now where they're doing this. There's a lot of them. And as they get older, they'll be connecting more fully. And then when we parents meet each other, we'll go, oh yeah, none of us are here for us. We're all here for them. We're like, oh, why do we give ourselves such challenging lives? We did. And like whenever I meet the parents of the young people who are about to help evolve humanity, we've all given ourselves really challenging lives, because how can we properly support them with their crazy hard mission if we had a nice casual lie in a hammock eating kumquats all day life? So there's a reason for it. But I'm going to get back that into a moment. And do we have a box of tissues by any chance? I forgot to bring. You're the first. You will not be the last. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, but no, we have some tissues here. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And everyone, if you feel the need at any point to let your emotions pour out, let it happen. That's part of this experience because we're going to be tapping into things that are in the core of your being. Certain things that questions you've had, why, you're going to get some answers to today, or things are going to fall into place and make sense, and emotions will be released. So let's just plan on it. Thank you. Um, so when I went to plan for this life, I said, okay, I'm going to go into life and I'm going to plan out from birth to death what will happen. So think about, like, in your life, think about your past week and everything that you planned on having happen from last Sunday to today. Think about even one day. Today, all this will happen. And then you get to nighttime, you're like, none of that happened. Or some things happened, some things didn't go as planned, some things have to get put off to tomorrow. New things I wasn't expecting came in. So if we can't even get through one day without having to constantly adjust, how are we going to get through a whole life? Yeah. So it's not like we have a script that we follow and then we die. It's not like that at all. We're born, nothing works the way it's supposed to, and then we die and return to ourselves and go, wow, that was interesting. So the lessons that you plan on learning are not necessarily the lessons that you learn. But sometimes you learn very interesting lessons along the way. They're like, you know what? I was going to learn that the next life, so I got that this life. Okay. So keep in mind, if we're repeating an attempt at a life lesson, it's not always because we failed. Sometimes it's because we ended up being bumped over to another lesson. The other thing about planning your life is you create soul contracts with people, places, all kinds of things. And sometimes these soul contracts don't happen, or they don't happen as planned. And I'll tell you, like, when I spent years working as a self-employed professional, I had to sign a lot of contracts. I never saw a single contract that I signed or that I saw anyone else sign that I was part of a project that went through as expected for the period of time it was expected. Every single contract I ever saw either was changed, broken, morphed, or eventually this isn't working and everyone agreed to walk away. Or like, this is working too well, we need a new contract for something better. So don't expect soul contracts in your life to go as planned. Suppose I say, okay, I'm going to be at the Falls Church Pathways Convention, and I'm going to meet Paul. And then we will end up becoming friends and do work together. Well, that did happen. And I do believe that that was contracted to happen because of the connection that we made and the work we've done and how it's affected both of us. Now, that may not be a primary contract like the one you would have with your parents or your spouse or your lifelong best friend, but it was an important contract because both of us grew from this. But suppose I didn't sign up for Pathways. Hi, come on in. Yes, come on in. We're just getting started, and you can sit in chairs or on the floor or whatever you like. So suppose I said, you know what, I'm not going to do Pathways. I'm tired of doing these wellness festivals. I'm going to call it quits. Paul shows up and I'm not there. So what's he going to do? Well, he still has his life path and the work he's going to do, but I voided our contract. And now he has to find either someone else or figure it out on his own. This happens all the time. When I help people read their soul contracts and align their life path, it is like, oh yeah, you were supposed to meet someone at this point and they didn't show up because they went somewhere else. Or, oh, you met this person, but they didn't meet the challenges. Hi, come on in. They didn't meet the challenges that they had set up for themselves. So instead of being like a loving, supportive person, they were an angry, depressed person. and you waste a lot of time trying to help them become loving and supporting because that's the role they're supposed to be with you, and that's what you feel like you should have, but all they do is suck you dry, and you still have to be on your path no matter what. Like, we all can relate to this, right? Yeah. So you have to understand, when we plan our lives, nothing goes as planned. But we have these relationships that we're supposed to be meeting and hitting. Sometimes we feel an emptiness, like I feel like something's supposed to happen, but nothing's happening, right? Well, if you learn how to work within your soul path, at that point you can tap into your soul path and say, what was supposed to happen? And it takes practice, like anything, like learning a foreign language. It takes practice, but then you'll get this vision of what was supposed to happen. You're like, oh man, that would have been awesome. Now I got nothing. However, the benefit of this is you'll know what was supposed to happen, what you had planned for yourself. And then you say, you know what? I deserve that. I'm going to find a way to make this happen for myself. Because, you know, you are not at the mercy of your soul contracts. You know, you are at the mercy of your self-will, of your destiny, you know? Exactly. I know. You're like, oh, there's no one to blame. I mean, the truth is, we are in charge of our lives from start to finish. However, learning how to be in charge of our lives in a way that is emotionally fulfilling is a lifelong journey. And then we die and have to start over. So it's, and then we think, oh, when we get really evolved, like by my 1000th life, I'll have it down pat and I can just skate through. No, you get to your 1000th life and you're like, I'm going to really cobble myself in this one because otherwise I won't learn any lessons. So people who have really, really hard lives, a lot of times they're super old souls that are just like, I'm going to cut off all my spiritual connections. I'm going to cut off, you know, all of my sense of joy, and I'm going to force myself on a path where it's up to me to really claim it all for myself. And you're like, really? I'm so evolved, and this is the life I give me. But you know, sometimes we do. And okay, sorry if I sometimes pause and look a little, you know, they're like giving me subtle nudgings. So sometimes people come into your life that you feel like they're so familiar. They must be some kind of soulmate or soul contract, but they make you miserable. Or it just feels wrong. Or you're like, well, I know I'm supposed to truly love this person, but I feel nothing. Or, you know, so sometimes, again, they are not honoring their soul contract to you. Or sometimes it's someone you knew in past lives, but they're not in a soul contract to meet you in this life. They just seem really familiar because you knew each other from before. Like someone you knew in high school, but you guys weren't in the same crowd. Then you run into each other 20 years later and you start hanging out because you kind of speak the same language of that time. And maybe now you become friends, or maybe not, you know, or it's just nice having that reconnection with someone from that era. Well, we can have that with this. You can run into someone that you were married to in a past life, and it just happenstance that now 300 years later, you run into each other again in this life. But you feel that connection. You feel something. You know, I found my soulmate, but why is my soulmate such a jerk? Or, you know, or why is my soulmate someone who drives me insane? And so, you know, we should not be perceiving in our brain what we think the relationship is. We need to feel it on a soul level to really know how to rapport with it. Okay. Okay, so today's class, there's 3 parts. There's the soul's path, soul contracts, and soul shards. And the reason I put the 3 together is they really are 3 parts of the same, of understanding why did my higher self do this to me, and how can I be in charge of me? How can I understand what's going on so I don't need to keep learning the same decision, the same lessons over and over. And what is there ahead of me? We all have that question. Am I on my path? Or am I still at the starting gate? Have I even hit like point one yet? Or, am I stagnating? Like we all wonder that at times. And it's good to know where you're at. I'd like to share with you a few anecdotes from when I give people past life readings. When my clients come to me for past life readings, if we do a short one, usually like one life comes through to share a lesson. And it's always the lives that come through are not the lives in chronological order. It's the lives that feel most energetically connected to you, either in this life or at this moment in this life. And so by understanding why these lives are connected with you and what lessons they were going through in their lives, it helps to realign yourself within the current life and see what path is ahead of you. Sometimes when we're going through this process, if someone is not on their life path, or if things were not honored for them in their soul contracts for this life, that comes through. And I tell them what was supposed to happen as opposed to what did happen. But what we find often is they're still at the point in their life that they were supposed to be. So, think about like if you're on, like when you go on the W&OD trail and it's a nice paved bike trail, but you have the little side paths that are kind of gravelly and dirty and they go like up a little hill and down. Well, it's sort of like that. If your life path is the W&OD bike trail, we don't follow that trail. We follow the little side meandering paths and go this way and this way. The point of having a life path is not to stick to it, it's to return to it. And you have certain markers along the way. If you follow your life path completely without having the side adventures, then it would be a very boring life for you very quickly. And you wouldn't get much spiritual exercise. You become spiritually flabby. So just always assume that your life path is going to be a little bit meandering. That's the way it's supposed to be. You have certain lessons that you need to learn for yourself, and sometimes you have to go way off path before you're like, oh, now I learned the lesson, and then you work your way back to your path. Every single time I've done a soul realignment and life path reading for someone, they're generally on their path, even if contracts were not given to them. I've read for people who were supposed to have very loving childhoods, and they had really horrible childhoods because their parents didn't honor their soul contract, because their parents' soul contracts to them were not honored. So, these things happen. Like, everyone is in the center of their own being, and we are generally in a reactive state to others. If I come in and I'm in a bad mood because I had an argument with my family before getting here, I'll walk in and everyone will feel that energy of me being in a bad mood, will immediately get a little like, oh, defensive, a little ready, and then I'll be a little snitty because I'm just like releasing, and everyone else will go, wow, she's being snitty at me. What's going on? Benita's such a rude B word, and she's got it in for me. So now I feel like, why is she attacking me? And I'm not even aware of what I'm putting out there to others. I'm like, boy, why is everyone being so, what a bad class. They're like all so defensive, and it's so hard to get through to them, because we're all reacting. We're all reacting. As you get into so when you are in a soul contract with someone and they're not honoring their contract, you're going to be reacting to what they put out there, and it can make it more difficult for you. The good news is that gives you a much better challenge to stay on your path. So you're like, oh, this loving, supportive person is just awful, but I still have a driving goal for something to happen. So you have even more of a challenge and an adventure to get to where you want to go. Um, I'm really amazed with the amount of times I tell someone, people, when I read for people, generally I don't know anything about the person. I'm not even 100% aware of their name because I'm reading so many of their past lives that the present life name like is gone to me. Um, and I'll tell them this is what was supposed to happen when you were young, when you were older. This was where you're supposed to meet this person, that person, and this is what you're supposed to be doing now. And they'll go, wow, well, I'm not doing that. I'm the assistant to the person who does that. Or I'm not doing that, but I've always dreamed about doing it. It's my passion. I have like 100 books on the subject. Like, it's amazing how even when we're not on our path, we still find our way back to it. So that's something to remember as we go forward. Um, that okay, they're telling me to get moving on. And they're like, they got it. Okay. So as I was saying before, imagine like Uber Benita up there. I'm going to go to life, and this is how I plan everything, and these are the contracts I want to honor, and these are the lessons I wish to learn, and certain things must happen at certain times to make sure that these will happen. And then someone will come to me and say, "Oh, Benita, you're going to be at Intuitive Wellness, when at this time in this place. Let's make sure that I'm there also because I want you to teach a class that will have an impact on me and like fuel me for something else happening in my life that I need." I'm like, okay, let's do that. So we make a soul contract for that to happen. And then someone else will come up to you and say, "Oh, you're going to do that class. Great. Then make sure you do this, this, and that. And then we're going to meet at another time or place for something to happen. And then I want us to work together and become like really good friends because of this, because we can support each other." So you go, "Oh, okay, great. Let's do this. And while we're at it, let's share a splinter of our souls with each other that will lie dormant and will not activate until we meet. That way it'll be like a little beacon that we find each other no matter what. And when we do, we have a recognition on a soul level that this relationship is supposed to be." So you do this. So this is a soul shard or a soul splinter by contract. When the current lives are finished, these splinters will return to the original souls. There's no way to hold on to them. This is like given by a contract, by choice, with love and support. There's no other way for it to happen. When I mentioned the galactic shamans, Honeybee and Michael Beloved. Honey and I had been working together for a while, and I was at her house, and she did a shamanic healing on me, which was like unbelievable. And afterwards, we were having lunch, and she said, "I have someone coming over today. I want you to meet and tell me what you see when you look at him, and if I'm supposed to do any work with him." And I said, "Sure." And it turns out the night before she was at an event, people were asking her, "What are you going to do?" And she said, "Oh, I'm about to go to Acapulco because on whatever day there's going to be a galactic gateway opening there, and I need to be there to help do a ceremony with the opening." Galactic gateway openings are sort of creating conduits for energy to come into Earth. So, that's from different areas of the more etheric type states of being. So I'm like, she said, "So I was telling someone that when I heard someone else say, 'Oh, I'm about to be in Acapulco on whatever date to help open a galactic gateway.'" And Honey said, "That's the first time I ever heard anyone else say something like that." So I need to find out what's up with this guy and if it's someone I'm supposed to work with, or, was there some other reason? I said, "Sure." So this guy showed up, and we were talking, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to look at the two of you now." So I looked at them. And, when you ask me what I see, the truth always pours through me. It doesn't come from me. It comes through me. And be prepared for what you're going to get. So I looked at the two of them and went, Oh, okay. So the two of you are soulmates, and you have given each other a shard of each other's soul to hold on to till this point when you met for it to be activated. And now the two of you are going to come together and do this sacred work together for a period of time. And then after that, it's your choice if you wish to stay together or not. But I think you'll stay together because the two of you have been together as soulmates for an eternity and will continue as an eternity, and you love each other as though you are one. And this is really great. And I looked at them, and the two of them were like, they're looking at each other. They're like, oh, I just met this person. You know, like, I don't even know their last name. We talked for like 10 minutes. And I was like, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And I'm the one who gave his last name is Abrams. I gave him the last name Beloved because that's the soul name that comes down to me. And they're traveling the world, opening galactic gateways together, and they are soulmates, and they're really amazing. If you have a chance to ever work with them, absolutely recommend it. Yes. Right. So sorry, I forgot my Aura camera at home, but Gina and I are going to arrange for me to bring it in. Of course, my life got shuffled around, and I'm not like going to be on the road for 3 months. We're going to leave, come back, leave, come back. And so we're going to arrange for me to bring the Aura camera and the chakra energy mapping here to do it as a workshop. And that's really like the energy mapping lets you know what's energy doing inside your body, what organs are getting energy, what neurologic pathways are getting energy, all of that, as well as how your chakras are communicating with each other. And then the Aura camera shows the energy as it's radiating from you. So that so we'll go ahead and set that up, and that will be posted within the next day or so, I think. Yes. And I am so sorry. You see, nothing goes as planned. When we are planning out our lives to come in, think about what are we when we're not in body? We're not physical when we're not in body. We're energetic beings. Like we look at the angels and see them as beautiful, energetic beings. The angels, when they look at us in our pure form, see peers, you know, a different kind of energetic being, but that's how they see us when they look at us. So go ahead and start thinking of yourselves now already as a pure, energetic, eternal being of love, because that is what we are. And then we like give ourselves challenges and make ourselves miserable, you know, because we're trying to raise up our vibration and learn a great deal of lessons. And it's a long class to talk about why we do this, but just know we do. That's another whole 3-hour class. So if you are going to life, you're like, well, you know what? Okay, Paul, I'm just going to use you as my constant example here.
Nobody.
So I'm going to life, and I say, Paul, I'm going to life, and I need to learn the challenge of humility. I have failed it miserably the last few times. And so I really need to learn this and make sure I've learned it. You aced out humility your first time out. Can you please give me a shard of your soul to help me with this life? And he'll go, yeah, sure, here you are. Now we've contracted, I'll go through my life. And at the end of it, that part immediately returns to Paul. Or I am going in to learn a lesson, and Paul might say to me, oh, I'm going to do that lesson my next life. Do you mind if I send a shard of my soul with you so that while you're learning it, I'm getting some experience, and then when I go to learn it, it's easier for me. I'm like, yeah, sure, here you go. You know, I do a great deal of work in the Akashic Records, the Akashic Library, which is, imagine the internet, but it's for everything in all existence. And most people, when you go to the Akashic Library, they read their past lives book, and that's about it. But there's a whole lot more. There's so much in the library. You can learn about anything. It's like going to the Library of Congress and you only ever read the one book that you wrote. You know, there's like tons of stuff there. And one thing that's there is people who lived big lives, they often make their books open books for anyone to read. And one of the reasons they do this is like Jesus, Cleopatra, Nefertiti, Henry VIII, people who, come up a great deal in history books. When they go to life, they know I'm going to lead a big life. It's going to take a lot of energy. I'm going to need support. And I want to share this experience because it's going to be profound. So, anyone who wants to send a shard of your soul with me to this life, please do so. They do a calling out and they get all these shards, like millions, billions, however many. And then they go to life and they have the support of everyone who's connected to them, everyone who is supporting them. And in exchange, everything that they experience gets sent back when they return, when they're done with their life. Everyone gets the piece of that. So when after they're done with their life immediately is an open book because we were all part of it. They can't close the book, nor would they want to. But if so you're like, oh man, I miss the Jesus life. No. All my friends got to go, and I was like polishing a star somewhere. Oh, you can go into the Akashic Library and read. You can walk the path of Jesus or read the path from a safe comfort if you don't want to experience it. All of these people. Many people. And then sometimes there's someone who's like, man, that was a fun life. I'm going to make that an open life. Joe the farmer, who really never had anything exciting happen, it was just a good life. You can be like, okay, I'm going to be Joe the farmer for, walk the path of Joe the farmer or whatever, marry the milkmaid and, Sally the shepherdess. But you learn like wonderful little subtle lessons by doing this. So, as we plan our lives and plan our going into lives, since we are energetic beings and energy can really be divided a great deal, it is possible to send bits of pieces of yourself out with others, send a big blob of yourself out for one life. You can go to another life and be a third of that person's soul, an eighth of that person's soul. You can portion yourself out because energy can always get more energy. So you can really spread yourself out pretty wide. Certainly people who are inexperienced with being in life generally keep it more simple, but the more experience you get, the more you can multitask. Think about our career choices. When I first started as a chef like 35 years ago, it took all my attention just to cut a stick of celery. And then, later I'm like, doing everything everywhere while making spreadsheets, designing menus, going to meetings. And we all develop these skills. But every single time we put a part of ourselves out there, there's a contract that it is our goal to honor the contract. However, we don't always. That is so important when you look at your life path, because remember, some of the contracts are honored, some aren't. That's why you must always listen to your gut instinct and your heart and let that steer you. Don't let your brain talk you out of doing what you're feeling in here. Anytime you hear the stop, reevaluate from the back of your mind, stop, reevaluate what's going on. And sometimes it's not a judgmental thing. Sometimes it's just a subtle shift or understanding someone is going through something on their side that makes them unable to honor a contract role that they had agreed to give to you. Or maybe you're the one who cannot honor it. You're trying to honor a contract, but you just can't. So then you need to find a way to honorably not honor the contract, which we have all seen happen many times in regular, 3D world contracts. Okay, so that was a big bunch of information that I just put down on you all. Does anyone have questions about that part?
Yeah, have all this other soul parts of you change who you are or how you act or how you think?
It can, and that's when we get to the final part on soul shard retrieval, we're going to focus a great deal on that. Because if you have, now of course, if it's by soul contract that you have someone's part in you, it won't change who you are as a person, but will certainly give you, just as if you are trying to do a task in everyday life and you need someone to help you. It changes you the way that would change you. However, the final part of our class will be about soul shard retrieval, which is when a necessary part of your soul is not with you, usually because of trauma or something that is not an honorable contract, and how to reclaim it. And when you reclaim your soul shard, often you feel much better because a piece of you that's being held captive is set free and returned to the home of you. So that's, yeah. And that is really, really important. The first time I took a soul shard retrieval workshop, everyone was sitting and it was like an all-day workshop. And so it was building to the point where we did a meditation and we were supposed to find just one little bit. She was like, don't go to the time when you were like, abused in a horrible way, or, don't go to the big thing, just something small, a little tiny sliver that just got stuck somewhere to begin with. And it could also be from a happy time, like you leave a shard of your soul in a happy memory that doesn't want to return to everyday life. So it's not all trauma. So, it was like a useless meditation for me because everyone else went and had these amazing stories to share afterwards. I went and I looked at myself and I saw myself almost as like a crystalline being with like, those like 3D puzzles made out of clear plastic. So it's really hard to fit everything together. But if you do, you get this like really beautiful plastic multifaceted thing. So I saw myself, but I could see where all the gaps were parts of my soul were missing. So I was like, oh, okay, but I could see the lines of energy leaving me, going to them. So I'm like, oh, everyone, come home, come back now. And everyone, I'm like, okay, good, I'm solid. Now what? And I sat for like another half hour waiting for everyone to finish their journeys. And then everyone came back from the journeys and talked about all the negotiations they did and the this and the that. I'm like, oh, man. Oh, they had much better adventures. I had like no adventure. I like, I had to go off on my own little shamanic journey just to keep from being bored. But I did have a good shamanic journey, but I had nothing to do with it. So we will start with what I like to do is okay, we're going to take a moment to stretch and use the bathroom if anyone needs, and then we'll do like a 20-minute meditation to connect with our higher self and talk about soul contracts with our higher self. And then we'll return and we'll share, and then we'll talk about soul contracts with other people, the whole soul experience, the soul path, and then we'll do another meditation. So let's take 5 minutes for restroom stretching, relaxing, getting yourself settled wherever you want to be for about a 20-minute meditation.